The purpose today is not to be partisan. Okay? It's to get the facts out. That's what this tour has been about. We've been working with stakeholders like the police and the chiefs, and with women's groups and with emergency physicians. And those are the front lines keeping our community safe. And saying to them as partners, how can we work to get out the facts and the information? Because I remain convinced that whether or not you're in a rural community or a suburban community or a downtown community, when you know the facts, you support the registry. And so that's what this is really all about. So if you want to go out and cheer for the Liberal Party, fantastic. I don't want to hold you back from doing that, but that's not what today's about. You've heard from a lot of the other speakers, and so I really want to take your questions. I don't want to go on a long time, but I think there's a few things that I want to add. Things that have struck me as I've traveled the country. The first thing is to start with the comment that Bonnie made. You know, that we do register our cars, and we do register our boats, and we register our pets. And we understand that that process of registration is an important part of community safety. One of the best articles I ever read in defense of the gun registry replaced the word gun with the word car. You know, so you know all the arguments you hear about why somebody shouldn't register their gun. You know, cars, people don't kill people, cars kill people, right? Or the other way around. Cars don't kill people, people kill people. Well, we know that in fact registering your car creates accountability. That if you're out in an accident, you can't just run away from your vehicle and police not know who it belongs to. We know that the registration of cars provides a number of different public safety benefits that none of us doubt. We all go into to the Department of Motor Vehicles and we do our thing, and it's not particularly fun, but we do it because we recognize we have to do it. And so that comparison is an important one because this isn't about attacking gun ownership. This isn't about going after people who own guns and say you're bad people. Any more that registering your car is attacking people who drive. I'm not against cars because I think cars should be registered. In rural communities, this has turned into a symbol more than anything else. And so there's this view that there's a group of people who live in urban areas who want to take away the gun of a hunter. Well, look, my grandfather was a hunter. He loved hunting. He had a collection of guns. I don't look to destroy his legacy. I don't look to destroy that way of life. All we're saying is that this registry works, saves lives, and it's an important component of the responsibility of gun ownership. And so there's a lot of misinformation about how this saves lives. And maybe what I'll do is I'll give a couple of very specific examples. First on how it helps solve crimes, and then about also how it saves lives. I was in actually Toronto for our event in Toronto, and somebody had been participating in an inquiry into a death that happened in Collingwood. And the conclusion of that inquiry was that had it not been for the gun registry, that crime would have never been solved. I mean, if you want a concrete, ironclad example of where the registry solved a crime, it's there. Now, that doesn't mean that every instance the police use the registry, it's going to be the only factor in leading to an arrest. But there are many instances where that registry helps make the case. It's an important component. And just like police have a variety of tools at their disposal, this is one of them. Nobody should hold out the gun registry as a panacea. The gun registry isn't going to solve all the problems, any more than giving a police officer pepper spray or giving a police officer access to computer information in their vehicle is going to solve all their problems. But collectively, it gives them a suite of tools that makes it easier for them to do their job, makes it easier to catch criminals, and protects their lives when they're out there protecting ours. The next one, and I was really moved by this, when I was out in Halifax, and I was told of somebody who was working with the YWCA. YWCA has been fantastic. They've been hosting events across the country for us because they believe this is a critical issue for women. So when I've been traveling with Women's Caucus, they've been great in helping getting that message out. And one of the things that they said was there was a case where somebody had become unstable and had really had a life event that had transformed them. They had snapped. They became a danger to themselves and to others. And when they phoned the police, they were able to say that there were 9 weapons in that home. And the police were able to go and remove those weapons. And in the mind of that person in the Y, who was involved in that case, and in the eyes of the police, that saved lives. That if those weapons hadn't been removed, that person could have ended up killing themselves and perhaps killing others because they were in a very mentally unfit state. And the reality is we wouldn't know those weapons were there if they weren't registered. One other thing to consider in this when you're talking about costs, and there's a range of costs, but one of the numbers that's been given is about $3 million. The reason why it's so cheap, people say, well, why is that so cheap? That doesn't sound right. The reason it sounds so cheap is because you have to remember that they're keeping the registry overall. Right? They're saying it's okay to register handguns. That makes sense to them, but they're getting rid of the long gun registry. So you're really only cutting out a small part of the administration cost. That's why the cost sounds so low. But let's put that $3 million in context. I'm sure the inspector can tell you, a complex murder investigation can cost upwards of $2 million. Think about that for a second. One murder investigation can cost over $2 million just to have that investigation. Now, if we can give police a tool that helps them in that, we're going to save a lot of money, right, as well as getting a conviction, because we can potentially make that case a lot simpler. But I think it also puts into context the costs. And I would also mention that the government right now, and I disagree with it, but I won't get into it right now, is pursuing very aggressively a prison agenda of building all kinds of prisons. And the cost is going to be in the tens of billions of dollars. One bill alone adds $10 billion of cost. And their argument is that there's no cost too high for public safety. There's no cost too high for public safety. Well, if there's no cost too high for public safety, why on earth can we not afford $3 million to continue a registry the police tell us they need? I think the other myth that I want to just debunk quickly is that there's a huge divide in the policing community. There's 50% on one side and 50% on the other, and that's how it's kind of been characterized. The Association of Chiefs of Police, this association that represents chiefs of police across the country, of more than 430 chiefs of police, there are exactly 3 that are opposed to the registry. 2 of whom aren't in favor necessarily of getting rid of it, they just think it needs to be improved. Okay. Of more than 160 police associations across the country, there are 6 that are opposed to the registry. And most of them are reconsidering their position because of people like Marty Chiliak, who unfortunately was moved, but who was the head of the firearms program, and worked with the RCMP and explained just how effective that registry is. So you can see, when you add to that emergency physicians and all of these different these national organizations, women's groups, victims groups, that say this registry is needed. And the conclusion, I think, once people hear those facts, why on earth are we having this debate? And that's where we need your help. It's why I've been spending my summer so much time out of my own riding and away from my wife, because we need to get the facts out here. And we've moved them significantly. Look at where we were at the beginning of the summer. Support in opposition to the registry was about even. Now the poll that happened before the RCMP report came out had us at about 50% support for the registry and about 32% opposition. I think a poll today would show it's even higher. So it's turning into something where the population is getting behind it. We need you to not put on the brakes here, not take it easy. You've got to contact your MP if you can, whoever they are, whatever party they're in, and tell them how you feel. Tell them we need to save this, that their vote does count. This is going to come down to one vote. And you know what? Regardless of their party, if it's somebody who's changed their vote especially, or if it's somebody who's supporting the registry, also send them an email. As Omar and Bonnie can well tell you, we only hear from folks when they're angry at us, right? So it makes a big difference. If there's an NDP member, or it's difficult to believe, let's say a Conservative member who changes their mind, congratulate them. Say thank you. You did the right thing, because it's not easy. The last point I'll make is this notion that attacking MPs for changing their position on first and second reading and third reading. I hope everybody here would want to have the kind of member of Parliament who, in the face of facts and information, makes the right decision, who listens to their constituents, looks at the facts, and makes a decision that makes sense. So I think it's wrong to criticize members of Parliament who come to a different conclusion as a process moves. It shows they're listening. It shows that they're responsive to facts. And in truth, if you look at Stephen Harper, when the gun registry first came in, he voted for the gun registry on both the first and second reading. I'd probably shock a lot of people in the room. It was on the third reading vote he changed.